There's a moment when she's lying in bed, scrolling mindlessly through her phone, when your name suddenly pops into her head. She doesn't know why. Maybe it was the way you looked at her. Maybe it was something you said. Maybe it's the silence. But here's the thing. If you know how to trigger that exact moment, how to plant that thought so deep into her subconscious that she begins to wonder about you without even realizing it, you win. Not with neediness, not with pressure, but with presence. Controlled, calm, magnetic. Neil Strauss, in The Game, called it inner game. That invisible current running through you that tells her you're different, not because you chase her, but because you make her chase herself through you. Mystery, the legendary pickup artist Strauss studied under, knew this deeply. The game isn't about talking, it's about psychology, emotional leverage, silent tension, presence, and presence isn't loud, it's felt. It's what lingers when you leave. The rule, the golden rule, to attract any woman without trying, is simple. Stop trying to impress her. Start becoming the man she wants to impress. The shift isn't in your words. It's in your posture, in your silence, in your focus. Most men operate from lack. They text her because they're afraid to lose the opportunity. They compliment her because they're hoping she'll see value in them. But what happens when you become the one she's trying to impress? Everything flips. The frame shifts. David Data in The Way of the Superior Man explains it perfectly. Women are drawn to men who are grounded in their purpose. Not drifting, not waiting, but moving forward with or without them. The second she feels you're not dependent on her attention to validate yourself, she starts to crave yours. That's the paradox. The less you seek her, the more she seeks your energy. And that energy, it's cultivated in silence, in discipline, in not reaching out when every part of your ego wants to. Think about this. When a woman sees a man fully immersed in his mission, something in her instinctively pays attention. It's ancient. It's primal. It tells her, this man doesn't need me, but if he chooses me, it means something. That's what makes her obsess over you in her thoughts. Because you are not chasing her. You are inviting her to rise to meet you. That's powerful. That's seductive. That's unforgettable. Now imagine this. You walk into a room. You're not loud. You're not trying. But every woman notices you. Why? Because your energy is not scattered. It's contained. It's focused. You have no need to prove anything. That's when they start wondering, who is he? Why isn't he trying like the others? And just like that, you've broken the pattern. Most men act out of hunger. You act out of abundance. And women can smell the difference. This isn't about manipulation. This is about calibration. It's about becoming the version of yourself that naturally attracts without effort. You stop playing the short game. How can I get her number? How can I make her like me? And you start playing the long game. How can I build a life so rich in purpose, in depth, that the right women are drawn to it like gravity? That's what makes you unforgettable. That's what makes her think about you when you're not there. You don't need to chase. You need to master presence. Most guys don't realize this. Women remember how you made them feel more than what you said. Your calmness in chaos, your unshaken focus, your unwillingness to pedestalize her. That's what she can't stop thinking about. Because most men bend. You don't. You move with direction. You smile without expectation. You observe without reacting. And that quiet strength? It's what haunts her thoughts when she's alone at night. She starts to associate your absence with mystery. She doesn't realize it consciously, but there's a space you've carved in her attention simply by not filling every moment with presence. Most men rush to fill the silence, thinking attention equals progress. But the man who knows how to use space, how to disappear strategically, how to remain calm in that void, is the man who imprints himself on her mind. That's psychological seduction. It isn't about being available. It's about being unforgettable when you're not. Every time you hold back from reacting emotionally, every time you withhold validation, not out of spite, but out of strength, she starts recalibrating her perception of you. She begins to feel the gravity of your self-control. That in itself is rare. And in a world full of men trying to be seen, the one who doesn't beg for attention becomes the most visible. She can't help but wonder, why isn't he like the others? That curiosity is where the emotional connection begins to take root. Behavior creates perception. If you always respond immediately, Always say yes, always express desire too quickly. She feels she's won you too easily. And what comes easily is rarely valued. But when you're selective with your energy, when you invest it only where it's deserved, your attention becomes a reward, not a given. And women don't just want attention. They want meaningful attention. They want to feel they earned it. That's the emotional high they crave and remember. This is why men with emotional discipline are dangerous in the best way. They're not manipulated by beauty. They're not seduced by the thrill of validation. They don't act out of impulse. They act out of vision. This is something most men never even consider. Women are constantly scanning for emotional stability, not just excitement, not just charm, but consistency, confidence under pressure, controlled desire. That's what makes her think of you at random times, without knowing why. It's not about what you say, it's how you make her feel when you say nothing. Every woman has encountered the man who flatters too quickly, who overshares, who tries to impress, and it all blends into the same noise. But the man who listens more than he speaks, who takes his time to reveal himself, who looks at her not with hunger but with calm knowing, he stands out. He makes her feel seen without the pressure of being needed, and that makes her want to open up to him. That's when she starts imagining things, fantasizing, projecting. Women don't fall in love through logic. They fall through emotional contrast, the roller coaster of uncertainty mixed with intimacy, of distance followed by moments of closeness. That's what creates mental engagement. She doesn't crave a man who is always available. She craves a man who is selectively available and who makes every moment of his attention feel deliberate, valuable, charged. You become a memory in the making, not just another man in her phone. You want to know the key to making her obsessed with you? It's not more effort, it's more precision. It's the way you carry yourself when she's not watching, the habits, the purpose, the calm power behind your eyes. The more rooted you are in your own world, the more curious she becomes about it. Women are drawn to mystery but not chaos. They want to be part of something that challenges them emotionally but also makes them feel secure. And if you embody both, she will think about you more than she wants to admit. When you detach from needing her reaction, her affection, or her attention, you step into true influence. She senses it. She feels that you're not a puppet of desire. You're a man who chooses where his energy goes. And that is rare. That is masculine. That is the foundation of being unforgettable. Because when you're not seeking anything from her, you become the one thing she starts to seek. She starts to fantasize not just about being with you, but about being chosen by you. That's the subtle distinction most men miss. They try to impress a woman, hoping to be picked. But the high-value man reverses the game. He gives off the vibe that he's the one doing the choosing, not because he says it, but because everything about his demeanor reflects it. His boundaries, his focus, his refusal to be distracted by superficiality. And when a woman feels she has to earn your presence, she stops taking it for granted. That's when emotional addiction begins. It's not about playing games. It's about playing reality well. In the natural order of attraction, the one who remains more emotionally centered holds the power. Women aren't looking for perfection. They're drawn to polarity. Feminine energy flows, tests, reacts. Masculine energy holds, leads, directs. If you collapse every time she pulls back, if you become anxious when she's distant, she'll feel it instantly, and it kills her respect. But if you remain grounded, calm, even curious about her distance, you show her something most men can't: emotional sovereignty. This is why detachment is so magnetic, not because you're cold, not because you don't care, but because your identity isn't hanging on her response. And that creates a quiet tension, a psychological hook. She'll try to read you, understand you, crack your code. Because human nature is drawn to what it doesn't fully understand. When you become that enigma, that calm storm, she starts asking herself questions she never asked about other men. Why do I think about him when I'm with someone else? Why do I feel safe and excited at the same time? These are the thoughts that create emotional depth. The more centered you are in your values, your vision, your discipline, the more unpredictable you become emotionally. And unpredictability, when it's mixed with calm confidence, is intoxicating to women. They'll never say it out loud, but they crave a man they can't completely figure out. A man who gives them just enough to feel seen, but not so much that the mystery dies. That fine line, That balance between availability and distance is where obsession is born. And here's the part that most men ignore. Your energy doesn't lie. You can say the right words, use the perfect technique. But if your vibe screams neediness or approval seeking, she'll sense it immediately. Women are intuitive. They may not know why, but they'll feel the incongruence. That's why working on your core, your mindset, your mission, your emotional control is non-negotiable. When your energy is aligned, everything you say carries weight. You don't need to try to be seductive. You become it. Think about how she feels when she's around you. That's everything. Do you make her feel pressured? Or do you make her feel like she's in the presence of a man who doesn't need her, but still desires her? That subtle difference is powerful. One repels, the other attracts. One makes her feel like a prize to be won. The other makes her feel like a woman being invited into a powerful frame. She chooses you not because you convinced her, but because your energy gave her the freedom to desire you on her own terms. This is how emotional anchoring works. You create moments of intensity, followed by calm detachment. You lead interactions with confidence but leave space for her to respond. You flirt, but you're not desperate. You connect, but you don't cling. Over time, she starts associating your presence with an emotional high, and the absence of that presence becomes uncomfortable. That's how you live rent-free in her mind. That's how she thinks of you when she's alone, when she's with someone else, when she's pretending not to care. Everything about your behavior tells her one thing. You're not seeking love, you are love. You're not trying to impress, you are impressive. That's the paradox. That's the rule. Not because you want her to think about you, but because you've built yourself in such a way that she can't not think about you. She begins to notice it in the smallest moments, when a man reminds her of you, but lacks your depth. When she hears a song that triggers an emotional memory tied to your presence. When she gets attention from others but still feels unsatisfied because it doesn't carry your weight, your restraint, your calm intensity. That's when she starts comparing, even unconsciously. And the comparison always favors the one who impacted her on an emotional level, not the one who tried the hardest. You've become the standard. And that's the silent influence of a man who leads with energy instead of effort. You didn't overwhelm her with texts. You didn't chase. You didn't explain yourself. You let your actions speak, and your silence amplify them. That kind of presence leaves an imprint. It's not loud. It's not flashy. But it's permanent. Like a scent that lingers long after you leave the room. And the more grounded you are, the more magnetic that scent becomes. This is where attraction transforms into attachment. Not the toxic kind, but the kind born out of curiosity and respect. She starts wondering what you're doing, who you're with, why you haven't reached out. And that space you've created, deliberate, strategic, masculine, it becomes a mirror. She starts seeing herself in your silence, wondering what it means, questioning why your absence feels so present. Most men try to close the gap too quickly. They rush into conversations, dates, declarations, but you move differently. You let time work for you. Because you understand that tension, when managed well, is more powerful than instant gratification. You understand that anticipation builds value. You don't offer her certainty too early. You let her earn clarity. And in doing so, you awaken her deeper instincts, the ones tied to emotional investment, not surface-level attraction. This is why women often come back to the man who gave them space, not just physical space, but emotional space, space to wonder, space to imagine, space to desire. And when she thinks of you in that silence, it's not confusion she feels, it's magnetism. She doesn't miss your words. She misses how your presence made her feel about herself. Elevated, seen, wanted, not needed. That's the kind of energy that keeps replaying in her mind, long after the moment has passed. It's also why you don't chase closure. You don't explain your worth. You let her discover it in your absence. Because every message you don't send, every reaction you don't give, every boundary you maintain, it all communicates one truth. Your value isn't negotiable. She either rises to meet it or watches someone else do it. And that subtle but unshakable conviction is what keeps you unforgettable. You don't show her your cards too early. You reveal them slowly through consistency, through mystery, through glimpses of depth. Every interaction is intentional. Every word has weight. Every glance speaks louder than a paragraph of praise. You're not there to convince her. You're there to challenge her perception of what a man can be. And in doing so, you become the contrast to every superficial interaction she's ever had. That contrast, it burns itself into her memory. And the more time passes, the more she realizes it wasn't about what you did. It was about who you were while doing it. That unshakable energy, that deliberate slowness, that powerful restraint. You didn't just attract her. You activated something inside her that few men ever reach, the desire to earn the attention of a man who doesn't give it recklessly. And that's the essence of true attraction. It's not manufactured, it's not forced. It's built through the way you live, the way you carry yourself, the way you refuse to beg for attention, and instead become the kind of man whose presence commands it. Not by asking, not by performing, but by being unapologetically rooted in your own value. Because at the end of the day, women don't fall for the man who tries the hardest. They fall for the man who understands his worth so deeply, he doesn't need to convince anyone of it. He moves with purpose. He speaks with clarity. He walks away with dignity. And that kind of man, he stays on her mind. Not for a moment, but for a long, long time. If this message hit something deep inside you, if you're ready to stop chasing and start becoming the man that women are drawn to effortlessly, then this is your moment. Let me know what part of this video made you see things differently. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your mindset could help another man level up. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, who's stuck in that cycle of overgiving and under-attracting, share this with him. Let's build a community of strong, grounded, purpose-driven men who know their value and lead with presence, not pressure. Make sure to like this video if it gave you clarity, subscribe if you want more real content that transforms your mindset, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a drop of game. This isn't about getting her, it's about becoming him. I'll see you in the next one. Stay sharp, stay grounded, and stay dangerous.